Hey Sagittarius, welcome to Sweet Tea Astrology and Tarot. My name is Erica. Welcome to the channel. I'm so happy that you found me. This is your March 2017 Astrology, Tarot, and Oracle card video scope forecast. And I hope you're well. Why don't you sit a spell so we can talk about your stars? I am getting over a pretty nasty cold. It may have even been the flu. I don't know. I didn't go to the doctor because I'm a horrible patient. But what you need to know is that I may cough a little bit during this video. If that's the case, I'm sorry. I apologize. Please forgive me. But my lungs are pretty sensitive. I survived a house fire. I was asleep in the middle of a midnight house fire. So I think you can forgive me on the coughing. If not, I'm sorry. Okay, so Sagittarius. The main takeaway for this March, actually the spring season, is that we are now under the influence of a Venus retrograde. I did a series of videos on the Venus retrograde. I'll have that linked above in an information bubble for you to check out. But the main thing that you can do to navigate the waters of a Venus retrograde is to ask yourself, do I love it, do I love them, or do I love this? Now, this is very important for you, Sagittarius, because Venus is retrograding in your 5th house. Venus goes retrograde on March 3rd or 4th. I am shooting this video on March 3rd right now. So, we are under this influence. It's been the shadow. It's been the pre-retrograde shadow. Now we are in the full-blown effects of Venus retrograde. Venus, the planet of love, beauty, and harmony, also money and resources, is going retrograde in Venus, which is your 5th house. Sagittarius. The 5th house is traditionally ruled by Leo, and it is the house of sparks, and it is the house that has your DNA and fingerprints all over it because it's where you have the most skin in the game. When I say it's the house of sparks, it's the sparks of romance, it's the sparks of creation, it's the spark of life. That 5th house is your pleasure seeking. That's where you go out with your friends to blow off steam. That's your social circles. It's where you fall in love. It's where you make your babies. And it is the house of your children. It is the house of your creations as well. So if you are a artistic Sagittarian, this is where your masterpieces are inspired and made. With the 5th house being the house of romance and the planet of love going retrograde in this 5th house, it could be that you are dealing with lovers from the past, people or situations from the past that you may have valued greatly, coming back into your world in one way or another. Now, on March 9th or 10th, depending on where you live on the planet, Mars will be moving into Taurus. This is your 6th house. Mars is the planet that represents energy, impulse, and aggression, and it's moving into your 6th house of work and health. The 6th house is traditionally ruled by Virgo, and it is that house of your daily agenda and the things you do to make your life easier, efficient, and better. It is your work. It is the health. It is your health, and it is the competency and skills that you bring to the services that you provide. The fact that Mars is moving into the 6th house could mean that there's a lot of energy and a lot of movement in your work or your day-to-day life. And for some of you Sagittarians, it may be that you are dealing with needing some sort of surgery, or you could be dealing with high fever because Mars is a hot planet. Would be a good time for you to exert some of that Martian energy in the gym and work out, putting a little bit of energy towards your daily fitness for your highest good. Would be a good idea. It's a good way to use that energy and not have it manifest in the form of arguments with people that you work with. Just saying. Now, on the 11th or 12th of the month, depending on where you live on the planet, we will be experiencing a full moon in Virgo, and this is your 10th house. Virgo is ruled by the planet Mercury, so this full moon could probably bring forth feelings of worry, anxiety, or judgment, possibly tied to communication. Pardon me. In that 10th house. The 10th house is... I like to think of the 10th house through the lens of William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare said, all the world is a stage, and I consider the 10th house as the stage that you approach the world on, and it's how the world knows you through your career and your status, your reputation, also dealing with authorities, or authority figures, possible authorities in their field, like an expert. But it's also the house of destiny. So that full moon moving through there, it could be some destined communication that's bringing forth some anxiety, some worry, or some judgment. Or it could just be some communication somewhere within your career, your status, and this can be your financial status or your relationship status or your reputation. Now on the 13th or 14th of the month, depending on where you live on the planet, we will be having Mercury moving into Aries. And from here on out, the rest of the month, we will be focusing on that 5th house. Mercury is the planet of thought, movement, and communication. That 5th house is the house of Leo, the house of sparks, the house that has your fingerprints and DNA all over it, the house of your creations, your children, and your pleasures and social circles. Now, on the 20th or 21st of the month, depending on where you live on the planet, we will have the sun moving into Aries, and this is the spring equinox. It is the first day of spring, and it is the first day of the astrological new year, because Aries is the first sign on the astrological chart. And now is the time of year when those baby Aries are being born. So that 5th house, once again, the house of children, creation, your pleasure seeking, and your social life. It's the house of sparks, the sparks of love, the sparks of life, and the sparks of creation. And finally, on the 27th or the 28th of the month, depending on where you live on the planet, we will be experiencing a new moon in Aries in that 5th house. For you Sagittarians who are in a relationship or not, just be careful at the end of the month if you are not looking to get pregnant. It would be a good time to employ those birth control measures, because a new moon in the 5th house, that's where you make your babies. But we are also under the influence of a Venus retrograde in that 5th house. You could be having a lover or a past valued or loved situation or person coming back into your world. And it may be time for you to play, but just be safe. That's the nicest way I can put it. It might be a time of actual creation and creativity for you as well, Sagittarius. If you are of the creative mindset, even if not, pick up a pen, start writing, doodle something. You'll feel more creative at that period of time. You may also feel more social. So just be careful if you're going out. Make sure you've got a designated driver or a means or way to get home so you do not endanger yourself or others. But have fun. Venus retrograde is a time for you to assess what you value and what matters to you and what doesn't. And you can only know that through experiencing life and then reflecting on what you've done and what's gone on by asking yourself, do I love them, it, or this? Be honest with yourself and do what you must to rectify the situation. So Sagittarius, that's what's going on for the month of March for you. Now what I'm going to do is transition over to the tarot cards. Pardon me. So, if this reading does not resonate for you, that's all right. You are more than just a Sagittarius. You've got a little bit of each of the zodiac in you, believe it or not. I invite you to Google the words free natal chart and type in your birth information from your birth certificate. They're going to ask for your birth time, your birthplace, and your birth date. And with that information, a chart will be generated, one that will represent where the stars and the planets were, and their aspects in the sky from your perspective on Earth, where you were born at the moment you were taking your first breath. And with that chart, it will show you where the sun and the moon and all the other planets were, but it will also indicate where your rising sign is. There are lots of different tutorials on YouTube and online to teach you how to read your natal chart. If you've done that and still can't figure it out, or just want me to back you up on what you think you've done, you can send me a copy of your natal chart to sweetteastro@gmail.com, and I will get back to you as soon as I can with your information. Just understand I'm a full-time student. This is something that I do as a service for you. I do not charge to tell you what those placements are, so please be gracious with me. If I do not get back to you immediately, understand that I will. My email inbox is getting quite full, so patience, please. But yes, Check your sun, your moon, and your rising sign. And I would also check your Venus, your natal Venus, and check that Venus retrograde video out for that as well. That'll be popping up in an information bevel in the upper right-hand portion of your screen, Sagittarius. So, now that I'm done talking about that, let me cut the deck for you. I'm going to pull 4 cards, like I normally do. I've changed the setup, so I hope you like the new angle or the new view. I had some people lamenting about not being able to see the cards, so I'm trying to address that with this new setup. Let me know if you like it down in the comments below. The bottom card is going to represent the underlying theme or the overarching energy, and the top 3 I pull for clarity. Okay, and now I'm going to shuffle this Crystal Mandala Oracle deck. This is a new deck for me by Elena Fairchild. The artwork is by an artist named Jane Marin. And what I love about this deck is that Elena Fairchild has taken the crystal energy and the messages that come with different crystals and infused it with messages from archangels, ascended masters, or ancient cultural deities, and also infused the cards with crystal angel messages in the vibration of 333, 444, or 888. And each of those things brings a different message. So there's a lot of information that comes forward with just one card that is pulled from this deck. And I have a feeling y'all are going to be seeing a lot more of this deck from me and this channel. I really, really like it. And I highly recommend Elena Fairchild's decks overall. I do not have all of hers, but I have a good majority. It's becoming quite clear who I go to on a regular basis when it comes to the decks that I choose. This cough is lingering, y'all. I'm so sorry. There's your crystal card. And finally, I'm pulling, or going to shuffle and then pull from the Sacred Rebels Oracle deck. This deck is also by Elena Fairchild. The artwork on this deck is done by Autumn Sky Morrison. And this was actually the first deck that I ever purchased for myself in an online transaction. I have Uranus rising. That is the planet that is closest to my ascendant line in my natal chart. And Uranus rules the internet. And it was literally like this little deck was speaking to me through Amazon saying, you really need me in your house, like now. And I fell in love with it instantly. Not only does Uranus rule the internet, it's also the planet of the rebel. So I am quite rebellious. You have to be kind of rebellious to do something like this. Anyways, I'm cutting that deck for you now. And there's your Sacred Rebels Oracle deck card. So Sagittarius, what I'm going to do now is hit the pause button, flip these cards over, do the tarot math, and I'll be right back with your story. Hang tight, y'all. I'll be right back. Hey Sagittarius, I'm back with your cards, so let's get started. The bottom card of your spread, the underlying theme or the overarching energy for you, is the 8th card of the Major Arcana. It is the Strength card. The 8 represents the 8th house on the astrological wheel, and that is the house of Scorpio. That is the house of life, death, and rebirth. It's the house of other people's money and sexuality. It's the house of transformation, regeneration, and metamorphosis. It's also the house of your instincts that can be primal, basic, or human. This card is a Major Arcana, represents the zodiac sign of Leo. Now, we had a 22 degrees Leo lunar eclipse at the beginning of February. Maybe mid-February. Something like that. I think it was like February 10th. This could be in response to and dealing with the vibratory echoes of what occurred in that 22 degrees lunar eclipse. Something else that's interesting is that we had an 8-degree solar eclipse in Pisces, and the sun is, or Leo is ruled by the sun. So it also may be, this I feel like is the energy coming off of either the solar or lunar eclipse, depending on how it's playing out in your chart personally. Now this card in the upright, whenever I see it, it makes me, well, it's known as a card for having your talents and using them appropriately in the right setting at the right time, doing the right thing with your talents and your resources. When I see this card in a personal reading for like myself or a friend, then I see it as the having the strength to keep your damn mouth shut. You may be arguing with a Leo or someone who has strong Leo energy. It could also involve a Scorpio. Whenever I see this infinity sign, it makes me think of the Scorpio. That 8th house is also ruled by Scorpio. It could be involving an issue where you are stuck in between a Scorpio and a Leo. It really could play out in many different ways. But in the reverse, it feels like there is... it feels like you are the one on the lacking end of the strength. It feels like that Leo or that Scorpio has the upper hand in the situation. And if that's not the case, then you are being impacted or affected by a Leo or a Scorpio that has possibly had the rug pulled from underneath of them and is operating from like a head over feet kind of in shock situation. Or you may be approaching them in that sort of energy as well. It could go either way. Now, the top card in the top 3 for clarity is the Fool reversed. And that's why I said there at the end where it could be like you're dealing with someone who is operating like they've been head over feet, or the rug's been pulled from underneath of them, or their world has been turned upside down because of this guy right here. The Fool card. The Fool is the first card in the Major Arcana, but it's listed as the zeros. So I see this card sometimes as an eclipse card, but I also see it as a new moon card. We just got out of eclipse season, and we're also dealing with Venus going retrograde in the house where Uranus, the planet that is represented by this card, is at. So I feel like this is dealing with not only the eclipse season with the Strength card, but also that bleeding into this Venus retrograde. Lots of subjective thinking, it looks like, just from the placement of the cards. Whenever I see them reversed, it's like going within, withdrawing, being reflective in some way. But the Fool is representative, like I said, of the planet Uranus, and Uranus is the planet that's known for its shocks and surprises. It's the planet of rebellion and liberation. It's also the planet of change, and it rules the internet as well, so that may be important. But the Fool, it represents being innocent and naive and trusting and feeling, believing, and knowing that this road is going to continue, even though we can clearly see that it doesn't. This individual isn't even paying a damn bit of attention to it either. It could feel like the foundation, your structure is somehow being washed away. I know of many Sagittarians who are dealing with a lot of things that have felt like their world has been crashing down at their feet. Part of that is due to the Saturn transit that you have been dealing with since late 2014. So if your world, your life has felt like, what have I done to piss God off recently? It's that Saturn transit, y'all. Saturn is a planet that is known for structure, limitation, and containment. I like to think of Saturn as the building code inspector. It's also the instructor. It's the teacher. But it's the really harsh teacher. It's the teacher that doesn't grade on a curve. But back to the building code thing. Saturn, I see Saturn now, after my Saturn transit, my Saturn return, I see Saturn as the building code inspector, where whatever house in your chart that Saturn is going through, if the foundation of that house has not been built on solid ground and it has not been built to code, then Saturn will knock it down, and it will have to be rebuilt, no matter how painful it feels. You may be dealing with that now. It could have been a shocking surprise. The second card in the top 3 for clarity is the 3 of Pentacles. Whenever I see this card, the very first thing I think of is keys. Car keys, house keys, maybe the pass key to get into your different accounts. But it looks like a key to me. It looks like an old school automobile key. The 3 represents that 3rd house on the astrological wheel, and that's the house of Gemini. That is the house of your short distance trips, your siblings, cousins, and neighbors, and the people in your neighborhood. Communication is how you speak and how people interpret you, but it's also how you interpret others. It is how you consume and digest information as well. It is the commute that you take on your daily drive. So it is the vehicle that you use and the path that you go on. The Pentacles represent earth sign energy, and the earth signs are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. You are having Mars moving into Taurus, which is an earth sign. We are having Venus go retrograde. Our focus will be on our pentacles, our money, and resources. It's not just the money, though. Resources includes money, but it's not just money. Resources are anything that you would expend on another living thing or situation that you care deeply about. But the biggest resource that we have of all is our health. Without our health, we can do nothing else. This card, when I see it, it reminds me of an apprentice. This is an individual who is demonstrating their work under the watchful eye of instructors, possibly doing it for a grade, but this is showing the proficiency that you have for getting the task done. And it may be because you are being tested. It may be because you are still being trained. It may be because you're like under review, or it's it's employee assessment time. What do they call that? You know what I mean, where your boss is rating your performance. Now, you aren't having any 3rd house energy necessarily playing out for you astrologically, but that doesn't mean that it's not playing out for you in your own personal chart in some way. But we are all going to be paying attention to our pennies and coins during this Venus retrograde in one way or another. The 3rd card that I pulled for you in the top 3 for clarity is the Queen of Pentacles in reverse. The Queen of Pentacles is a feminine earth sign energy. The earth signs are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. Now, remember me telling you during the astrology portion at the end of the month, like this being the 3rd card, the future portion of the month, where I said you should be careful, especially if you weren't looking towards getting pregnant? Well, when I see this female right here, she looks like she's pregnant. She looks like she is holding this bundle of joy in her lap, looking down at it like it's something she created and she's very proud of herself about. So, Sagittarius, if you are not looking to get pregnant, especially if it's like a shocking type pregnancy, be careful, be careful. Use your birth control measures. We have the medicinal technology today to where pregnancy can be prevented all around. So it shouldn't even be an issue of an unwanted pregnancy. You should be on your game anyways, taking care of those responsibilities. I'm not preaching, but I was a teenage mom, and if I can spare you some heartache by you learning from my mistakes, then by all means do that. But I also see this as, well, I mean, in the upright, she is a female who is able to, I say female because she represents as a queen, but this is feminine energy. Could be reflecting on your resources and money because of that Venus retrograde, subjective, going internal. But I see this card on the upright as the Queen of Improvisation. I like to make up words. And Cat Williams is one of my favorite stand-up comedians of the last 15 years. And I don't know, I think me and him are about the same height. I'm 5 foot even. So, and I'm hanging on to it. Yes, I am. But he used to say, you got to make a pimp decision, and I see her as improvising and putting a P in front of it and pimprovising, taking those few ingredients in the cupboard and making a meal and making it stretch. Now, in the reverse, it could be that she's worried that she doesn't have those resources. In the reverse, it could be that she is lacking those resources or feeling in lack. I mean, you've got 2 major arcana in the reverse. And one is dealing with strength, and one is dealing with shocks and surprises. And then we've got this card right here in the reverse. It may be that you're not getting the accolades that you feel like you deserve in work. Or you could be dealing with a health situation that comes out of nowhere. So please be careful and watch your health. So I did the tarot math for you, Sagittarius, on this spread. And that ended up being... well, you got the 8 card for the strength card, and you got the 3 card for the 3 of Pentacles. 8 plus 3 is 11. And you have Jupiter, the planet of increase, excess, expansion, and just growth all around, in the 11th house. The 11th house is ruled by Aquarius. It is the house of the internet. It's the house of your friends, your groups, your memberships, associations, and teams that you belong to. It's also your future wishes, goals, and dreams, or your bucket list. Jupiter moving through this area could be that you are having a lot of interactions through the internet or in your social circles with those groups, those teams, those memberships that you have. Could also be that you're reassessing your future wishes, goals, and dreams. Or it could be that those areas of life are getting bigger. Now understand, wherever Jupiter goes, he amplifies the energy that's already there. So if you're having good stuff happen, then good stuff's going to get better. But if you're having not so good stuff, then it could be more of the not so good stuff. That's just the reality of the situation. And I do my best to empower you with that information. So, let's move on to the oracle cards really quick. So, from the Crystal Mandala Oracle card, I pulled for you the 15th card. This is the Archangel Raphael and Malachite card. It reads Grace for the Grand Gesture, and it is a Crystal Angel 444 card. So, the Crystal Angel 444 vibratory message is that the angels have your back. It is a message of stability and earthly reality and building stronger foundations for your higher spiritual growth. The mantra that you could associate with this card would be to have faith and let it manifest. And it's also a reminder that you are safe and it will be all right. This is the 15th card of this deck. 1 plus 5 is 6, and you are having Mars move into that 6th house of work and health or competency and skills that you bring to the services that you provide. It's also your daily agenda and your daily to-do list. Remember, I said with Mars moving in there, it could be that some of you may be running fever, some of you may be, God forbid, having to go under the knife for surgery. It may be unexpected surgery for very few of you. Because we've got Uranus involved, it shocks and surprises, and it looks like it's coming out of nowhere for you. This card indicates that a grand gesture, a test, or the ultimate leap of faith is upon you and your path. Your decision cannot be coerced or forced. And if it comes from a place of should or uncertainty, then you are not ready. It must be unconditional. There is a time for small steps and small tokens, and now is not that time. Because you're ready for the next big step, risk, decision, or choice from which there is no return. There is no going back once you've made this decision. You are not the same person that you were before. Listen to your heart. Make that leap in full faith that grace surrounds you now. From the Sacred Rebels Oracle deck, I pulled for you the 44th card. It is Visions of Life Beyond Death, and it has a picture of the full moon in the middle of her crown diadem right here. There's also a peacock, a crow or a raven, and an owl. So whichever of those animals that you are most drawn to, I invite you to Google the spirit totem symbology. There will be messages for you there. But that, along with this, 44. 4 plus 4 is 8, and that speaks to the 8th house on the astrological wheel. Also speaks to this 8 right here, having strength. This is the Visions of Life Beyond Death card. That 8th house is the house of life, death, and rebirth, the house of transformation, metamorphosis, and regeneration. It's also the house of other people's money and sexuality, and it's the house of instincts, primal, basic, or human. Now, another synchronistic point is that it doesn't just speak to the 8th house, it also speaks to that 8-degree Pisces solar eclipse that we had at the end of February. I urge you to go back and listen to your end of the February, your mid-February reading. You will get information about the eclipses there if you did not watch them before, because this is what you're feeling now, what you're going through now, according to this spread, is linked to that eclipse. Solar eclipses are new beginnings. That solar eclipse happened in your 4th house. This card reads, or brings with it, that you are being blessed with the ability to truly see. To see what is beyond the illusion. To see what is real. And this is true insight. If you felt stagnant or in need of inspiration, this is an oracle of hope for you. Your vision will be restored and clarified, and you will see things, people, situations, and circumstances as they truly are, and maybe even much differently. A shift in your perspective is necessary from time to time, and now is one of those times. Understand that your ability to perceive is expanding at an accelerated rate now. So perceive, receive, and then help others to see and believe. So, Sagittarius, Venus retrograde looks like it is bringing you some serious points of reflection. Remember to ask yourself during this point in time, do I love it? Do I love them? Or do I love this? Be honest with yourself, Sagittarius. This is a time for you to reassess what you value in life. And there is no sense in wasting your precious energy on things that you no longer value. The universe gives us these retrogrades to reassess the things in our lives that we put our time and energy towards. And it gives us an opportunity to remove ourselves if the value is no longer there for us. If the transactional energy is no longer equivalent. You are here to thrive. You cannot thrive if you've got dead ends hanging off of you. This is a time for looking at those dead ends and removing them. Now, Sagittarius, you're probably going to be feeling pretty creative during this time. Just understand that those rose-colored glasses are going to be taken off in May, so you're going to see things differently in May. So I wouldn't do any permanent beautification to my body or to my home. I really wouldn't even go out looking at homes right now either. Even though you had that solar eclipse in the 4th house, Venus going retrograde, you might not be getting everything that you're bargaining for. Or you might be being asked to pay more than it's worth. So, that's what's going on for you in the sky, Sagittarius. That's what's going on for you in the cards. I hope that you're well. I hope you enjoyed this reading. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you already did, I thank you from the bottom of my very grateful heart. I'm going to be around for the mid-month readings, but I've got to finish this series first, and I've been dealing with some serious delays here lately. It seems like there's a lot of things that aren't wanting me to get this done. So send me some good energy, y'all. I need it. I hope you're well. Please take care of yourself, and please be kind to yourself. Save some of that kindness for others, because we're all going through private battles in our world that some of us may never speak about to another living soul. I'll see you soon, Sagittarius. But until then, take care, be well, namaste, and I love y'all. Bye.